Hey guys, welcome to Lauren's Reality. I am Lauren. Today we want to talk about agency, which a lot of people are like, that doesn't seem like it's anything associated with real estate, when realistically it is. I do want to have a little disclaimer at the beginning to say that every state in the US is different in small ways, in some ways, big ways, but the laws in association with real estate can vary. I'm in South Carolina, and if you're watching it from another market, then you may want to check on real estate license laws in those states. But what I'm going to talk about today is applicable to a lot of states, a lot of southeastern states in particular, and we call it agency. So you have a real estate agent, right? And if anyone out there has worked with a real estate agent before, you may be familiar with what we're about to talk about. If you've worked with a real estate agent before in a market that has agency laws and you haven't heard about this, then that's where the problem is. And so we wanted to create something that would let individuals know how an agent works with you. Like, what can you expect from them? What does it mean when you sign a contract with them? What can you hold them accountable for? But also, what are they holding you accountable for? And there is actually, and truly in South Carolina, real disclosure statements. So you should see forms like this if you're working with an agent. And what these do is they're made by labor licensing and regulation boards of that particular state, who will say, you need to give this to someone that you're going to work with or potentially work with, to explain to them what a relationship is when they're working with you and what their choices are in terms of working with you. All of this information is really meant to show you that you have options and you have choices, and to equip you with the right information to make the right choice for you. So let's say that you are gonna sell your house, right? If you're gonna sell your house, then you're typically reaching out to a real estate agent to do that. When they come to your house, or you meet them at their office or at Starbucks or wherever, they should go over with you what their responsibilities are to you if you decide to let them help in selling your home. You're gonna talk about that, you're gonna talk about commission, you're gonna talk about marketing, all of those things. What we really wanna focus on is, what does a fiduciary actually mean? I mentioned the word in one of our prior videos, and I just kind of dropped it in on you. And I think it's important for us to realize what a fiduciary is. A lot of the misunderstanding of real estate agents comes from the fact that people don't really understand what the legal responsibilities of those individuals are. And the cornerstone of that relationship is the fiduciary side. If you have ever had an attorney do anything for you, an attorney is a fiduciary, right? The key piece of fiduciary level services is, one, confidentiality. So they are responsible for keeping any of your information confidential. But mainly and mostly, it's that they are put in place to protect your best interest above anything else, above themselves, above other people, above their children, above anybody. Within that transaction, you should be the most important thing to them. They should be advising you of all the right decisions to make, no matter how it affects them or anybody else. They should be literally just holding your hand and guiding you in the right direction. If you understand the complexities of that type of relationship, then you can truly hold someone who's working with you accountable, because you want them to know that you can hold them accountable, that they are responsible for telling you the truth at all times and making sure that you have all the information that you need to have a successful transaction, whether you're buying or selling. There are 6 main things that are typically listed in an agency relationship that are responsibilities of the agent to you. In teaching methods, when I taught like real estate licensing classes, we call these old car, right? O being obedience. So your agent should obey what you tell them to do, as long as it is legal and ethically right. So if you want to make an offer on a house that's way below list price, if your agent is representing you as a fiduciary and they're executing their agency relationship with you appropriately, then they will do as you wish. Now, on the opposing side, they may advise you that they don't think that that is the best direction to go, and they may give you reasoning for that. But ultimately, everything links back to obedience. They should be listening to what you want and advising you through that process, but ultimately always going back to what is most important to you, what you actually want them to do. The L is for loyalty. So when you hear someone say that they are loyal, it means excluding anyone else. Going back to the fiduciary side, you are more important than anybody else in the transaction. In a particular sales situation, if there's two agents representing two individual people, it is, I don't want to say you against them, but realistically, it's how it should be treated. The agents are going to be nice and play nice with each other in hopes to make sure that they can make a deal or come to some form of agreement. But your agent's responsibility and thought process should be to protect you above anybody else. The D is disclosure. So disclosure means that they are going to give you all the information that you need, which means that the agent should be doing their own due diligence. This is a pivotal and important part of the process that is a lot of times undervalued. If you're selling your home, that means your agent should know everything they could possibly know about anything that could influence your particular area, whether that's zoning changes or potential new businesses coming into the area, whether that's changes in HOAs for that particular area or that there's an HOA in that area. It's all the way down the line. They should also, if you're a buyer, be looking at a property that you're buying from the lens of protecting you. So they should want to get all of the available information that they can find about that particular property. And yes, give you all of the beautiful, great things about the property. A real estate agent is not really a salesperson. In the majority of cases, if functioning in the right capacity, they're more of a consultant. So it should feel like they're consulting you on a purchase, not that they're selling you on a home, because the home is going to sell itself. You're going to buy based off of emotion because you walk into a home and you fall in love and you love the neighborhood and you love everything about the house, right? And you can envision yourself living there. Their job is to make sure that while you love it, is it a smart decision for you across all metrics? Is it within your affordability? Is it a good investment for you long term? Are you going to over leverage yourself? Is the property overpriced? What are the taxes like? Anything that could impact you while you own the home is their responsibility to find out and tell you about. The C part is confidentiality, which we said is like one of the highest priorities within a fiduciary relationship. And this means they should not be telling anybody your business, whether that is why you're relocating. So let's say that you got a new job and you're having to move to Kansas and you're needing to sell your home quickly. Unless you've told them that they should tell people that you want them to disclose why you're moving or what your motivations are, they shouldn't be talking about why you're selling, that you need to sell, that you're motivated, unless you've told them that that's the proper direction to go. So anything that you say to them about your financial situation, about your family situation, about the house, all of that stuff has to be held in confidence, except for material issues. So when we talked about disclosure, a part of disclosure are material defects. An agent's responsibility is to find those material defects because they're legally responsible for sharing them with anyone. So if they know that your house has mold and you tell them that it has mold, and then you say, but don't tell anybody, they still have to tell people. Those are material things that could impact the other side of the transaction. So as long as it's not something that is typically physically wrong with the house, then it has to be held in confidence. If it is something that could materially impact the transaction, then those things always have to be disclosed. The A part is accounting. We're not talking about being your accountant. They just have accounting for paperwork, making sure that you have executed copies of all paperwork and documents, and making sure that they're explaining those documents to you, which goes back into disclosure again, right? Everything that you sign in a real estate transaction, I don't care if you've done 0 transactions and this is your first, or if you've done 100 and you're perfectly comfortable. Any document that you sign, they should be fully explaining to you what you're signing, which goes into that disclosure. And then the accounting piece means that you have copies of all of those for your records as well. Most agents now work through like some form of online system or sharing of documents, so they can kind of make it easier in terms of you keeping up with that information, executed copies. And then the last one is reasonable care. And reasonable care is a fancy way of saying that they're gonna do the right thing. They're going to have a high level of ethics in the transaction. They're always gonna make sure that you are prioritized and taken care of above anybody else. And really, reasonable care, I always say, is just being a good person. They are not gonna do anything that puts you in a bad position. They're gonna make sure that you have all of the information and power that you need to execute the transaction or do anything that you need to do throughout the transaction. The great thing about knowing this information is that you know then when you enter a relationship with an agent, whether you are buying a house or you're selling a house, those are exclusive relationships, which means that once you sign that document, you're saying, I'm just going to work with you and no one else. So your responsibility as the client is that you're not going out and getting other agents to show you houses, because your agent is the one who is taking care of you. It also gives you the power to know that if you're ever unhappy with their services, you have complete control and power to get out of that relationship. So if they're not treating or fulfilling the duties that they promised, then you have the ability to talk to them, either work it out or leave. This doesn't matter if you signed a 6-month agreement, a 12-month agreement, a 24-month agreement. If they're not executing on their fiduciary duties and you're unhappy with the service level that they're providing, then you always have the power as a consumer to get out of that relationship if you needed to. In the majority of cases, things can be talked through. So don't be quick to dismiss someone that you're working with, because it may just be a miscommunication of some sort. But you really want to walk into the relationship having all the knowledge and power to know that you are in control of the transaction. You, from your side as a consumer, are also responsible for treating the agent with respect and understanding, in most cases, unless you get one of the bad apples, right? They're doing everything in their power to do what they promised you that they would do. There's a lot of things that are outside of the realm of their control, but for the most part, things can just be a miscommunication. So the most important part here is to realize that you do have choices. You can choose to work with an agent as a client, so that means they're representing you. You have a legal binding and signed agreement with them. You can choose to work with them as a customer, meaning that they're just gonna help you facilitate the transaction, but they can't really negotiate on your behalf or advise you of what you should or shouldn't do. The only time that you get that fiduciary level service that we were just talking about is if you are in a client relationship with that agent. But all of those things are your choices. And if you're equipped with the right knowledge to ask the right questions when you're getting into that relationship, then overall you'll have a more successful overall experience throughout the whole process. So once again, we want to keep sharing different information like this with you. So keep coming back. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and we'll see you next time. Bye.